Think about yesterday. When you woke up, what you reached for first, what you ate, how you responded to the first difficult moment, what you did when you had an hour with nothing scheduled. Now ask yourself honestly, how many of those were decisions? And how many were just what you do? Most people spend their entire lives believing they are the authors of their actions. They're not. They're the narrators. The story was already written, by repetition, by environment, by everything that happened before the moment they decided they were choosing. Today we're going to look at what's actually driving you, not to take something from you, to show you the only door that actually opens. The first thing. Neuroscience has known this for decades. In 1983, Benjamin Libet ran an experiment that made philosophers deeply uncomfortable. He asked people to flex their wrist whenever they felt like it, a simple, spontaneous decision. While they did, he measured their brain activity. What he found was this. The brain initiated the movement up to half a second before the person was consciously aware of deciding to move. The decision happened before the awareness of deciding, before the feeling of choosing. This has been replicated, extended, debated extensively, but the core finding has never been overturned. What you experience as a decision, that moment of felt agency, of "I chose this," is, in many cases, a story your conscious mind tells after the fact. A narrative applied to something that was already in motion. You are not the origin of your actions. You are the voice that explains them. This isn't determinism as a philosophy. This is your brain as a machine, running programs that were written long before you had any say in the matter. The second thing. The reason this is so hard to see. Habits don't announce themselves. They don't feel like automation. They feel like preference, like personality, like who you are. The person who reaches for their phone the moment they feel bored doesn't think, "I am executing a habit loop built by 3 years of repeated behavior." They think, "I just feel like checking." The person who responds to criticism with defensiveness doesn't think, "I am running a protection pattern installed in childhood." They think, "I'm just being honest." The person who sabotages every relationship once it reaches a certain depth doesn't think, "I am repeating an avoidance behavior that once kept me safe." They think, "It just wasn't right." The habit is invisible because it became identity. You stopped doing the behavior. You became it. And here's what makes this particularly difficult. The brain is not neutral about its habits. It actively defends them. It generates reasons, justifications, evidence. It recruits your intelligence, your actual cognitive ability, in service of maintaining the pattern. The smarter you are, the better your reasons for not changing. You're not reasoning your way to truth. You're reasoning your way back to the habit. The third thing. You think you make decisions. But mostly, your environment makes them for you, and you experience the result as choice. Put unhealthy food at eye level. People eat more of it. Put a staircase next to an elevator and make it visible. People use it more. Put your phone across the room instead of next to your bed. You reach for it less in the morning. Nothing about the person changed. The environment changed. And behavior followed automatically. This is not a weakness. This is how human cognition works at scale. The brain is an efficiency machine. It is constantly looking for ways to reduce the cost of operating in the world. Habits are low cost. Decisions are expensive. Every time you rely on willpower, on the felt experience of choosing, you are spending from a limited account. Every time your environment removes the need for a decision, you spend nothing. The people you think have extraordinary discipline, look more carefully. They don't have more willpower than you. They have better architecture. Their environment was designed, consciously or accidentally, to make the right behavior the default behavior. They're not choosing harder. They've eliminated the choice. You are not weak because you fail with willpower. You are weak because you keep relying on willpower instead of designing around it. The fourth thing. Beneath every behavioral habit, there is an identity habit, a story you tell about who you are. And that story is the most powerful habit you have, because it governs everything else. I'm not a morning person. I've always been like this. That's just how I am. These aren't observations. They're instructions. Every time you say them, out loud or silently, in the way you explain yourself to yourself, you are reinforcing a self-concept that your behavior will automatically align with. The brain doesn't just drive behavior. It drives behavior that is consistent with identity. So when you try to change a behavior without changing the underlying identity, you're fighting the architecture. You're trying to install a new program on a system that keeps rebooting to the old one. This is why motivation fails. Motivation targets behavior. Identity targets behavior, emotion, perception, attention, and memory simultaneously. You cannot out-motivate an identity. You can only replace it. Not through affirmations. Not through positive thinking. Through evidence. Small, repeated, accumulating evidence that you are, actually, in practice, a different kind of person than the story says. Every action that contradicts the old identity is a vote for the new one. Not a declaration. A vote. Enough votes change the story. And when the story changes, the habits follow without being asked. The fifth thing. So where does this leave you? If the decision was made before you were aware of it, if your habits feel like choices, if your environment is steering you, if your identity is running the deeper program, is there any freedom at all? Yes. But it's not where you've been looking for it. Freedom is not in the moment of action. By the time you're acting, the outcome is largely determined. Freedom is in the design. In the moment, usually quiet, usually unglamorous, when you decide what kind of environment you will live in, what you will repeatedly expose yourself to, what identity you will practice through behavior until it becomes true, what you will make automatic, consciously, deliberately, so that your future self doesn't have to choose. That's the window. Small, easy to miss, rarely dramatic, but it's real. The person who understands this stops trying to be more disciplined in the moment. They start engineering the moments instead. They stop fighting their nature. They start designing it. You don't have free will in the way you were taught to believe in it. But you have something more useful. You have the ability to choose your defaults. And your defaults are everything. You are not your decisions. You are your patterns. And patterns can be changed. Not by wanting to change them. Not by understanding them. Not by being inspired about changing them. But by quietly, consistently, without drama, doing something different. Once. Then again. Then again. Until the new thing becomes the thing you just do. Until it stops feeling like effort. Until it stops feeling like anything at all. You are not who you think you are. You are what you repeatedly do. The rest is just the story you tell about it.